back again, episode number 2 with Uncle Neely and myself, BiggDoggChico. Uncle Neely coming to you live from Boulder, Colorado, where they are just finishing off week 2 or in the middle of week 2. Tell us what's going on right now, Uncle Neely, on
You
campus.
just hit it, man. We're in the middle of week 2, about to wrap that up. Week 1 was an exceptional week 1. Guys came back, reported back in shape, ready to go. Everybody was here, engaged, good energy. Went into week 2 trying to build off of that. Had a walk-on camp, early in the week, closing out that week 2 with some camps, for recruits down the road, years to come, so to speak. But the energy here is high, man. The atmosphere is great. You start hitting those benchmarks on the calendar, so as people watch this, you're starting to get 90 days and under 90 days away from the first game. And, every 10 to 15 days, things start to pick up until you get to that fall camp in August and ultimately that first game, North Dakota State.
Looked like from the post from Well Off Media today, yourself and Reach the People, that we had some one-on-one action went on today at camp, and but a lot of at the core of that is a lot of competition. You see the strength and conditioning staff going through the drills, but incorporating a lot of competition in these drills, whether it's the offensive line versus defensive line, wide receivers versus DBs. Talk about what you've seen out there, and how does that build that competitive nature in the building and keep that at a high level.
This is what Coach Prime wanted. He wanted competition. He didn't want it to be, a clear gap between number 1 and number 2 and number 2 and
Yeah.
number 3. He wanted competition at all positions. So he went out and recruited talented depth, not just depth, but talented depth. And, you look at some of the rooms like the wide receiver room, the DB room, linebacker room is growing and full off the charts. Those guys want to compete because they want to get on the field. So they're pushing themselves, they're pushing each other during strength and conditioning. And as you start getting to more and more installs, you're going to see a true roster develop of who's going to be number 1 to separate themselves. But one thing you got right now, Big Dog, is you got a team made up of individuals that individually want it. They all come to the table wanting it, not conceding anything. So there's going to be competition across the board. And every day you're going to see more and more of it because guys want to play.
You talk about the talent increase on the roster, especially on the defense, well, all over, but especially on the defensive side of the ball, we want to zone in on. And with the new defensive coordinator, Robert Livingston, coming in to simplify things, and as you said before, to play into what we have already, to put those guys in position to be successful at the best things that they can do. I think that's going to bring this defense in that top half of the Big 12, as I said before. But they have a chance to be one of the best in the league. What are some key uh, factors that's going to help this defense become a lot better than they were last year?
Well, first thing is you got to be faster than you were last year. And one of the keys to being faster is being smarter. And how are you smarter? That means you know what the hell you're doing. You know what your responsibilities are. Chico, if you're driving and you're lost, you drive slow. You turn the radio down, turn the radio off, and you drive slow because you don't know where you're going. When you know where you're going and you know what your assignment is, you can drive fast getting there. And so when
Yeah.
you talk about tough, fast, smart, disciplined character, all those components come together for this defense. And I think what you'll see that Rob Livingston has done his first year DC here is not so much made it simple. He's just made it where people are playing to their strengths, playing to what they're comfortable. Let's come in and identify the talent. Let's see what that talent is great at and put them in positions where they can play fast. Last year, this defense, was moving slow because they were uncertain and they were reacting to things and not anticipating well and kind of uncertain. So you were giving up big runs. When you focus on your assignment, your alignment, your technique, and you're wrapping up and tackling, I believe in this defense. I believe it's going to be much better than we were last year. I think we're going to stop people. And I don't think we're just going to lead the Big 12 statistically. I think this defense is built and has the talent and the depth to be leading the nation in categories, particularly in takeaways, interceptions, particularly with our big hitters and causing fumbles and recovering them. And I think when you look at what's taking place on that defensive line with Coach Delu and Coach Sapp, what they bring to the table, and Coach Dancy, I think we're going to get more sacks and more tackles for loss than we had last year.
And that's going to lead to a whole lot more stats and more opportunities for Shador Sanders and that offense. But at the same time, if the offense can do a lot of running the ball, that can keep the defense off the field as much. And that would help the defense stay fresher. Keep those stats down, yards per game, and scoring opportunities down. So I think, yeah, we're going to be in the position to make some plays, especially on that back end, because of the history with Coach Robert Livingston in the NFL with the Bengals and those two safeties, Bates and I got the other B, but the two B's back there at the safety making the Pro Bowls and getting a lot of takeaways. I think that's his MO, and I don't think that's just a coincidence that his safeties do well. The ones that he's coached in the past. So look out for Shiloh Sanders, Savion Riley, R.J. Johnson, and Cameron Simmons Craig, and the other guys back there too. Can't forget about Stockmeyer. I know you talked about on DNVR some guys who might not be talked about a lot, who might be overlooked, but can have a huge impact by the end of this season. Everybody would know his name on that defensive side of the football.
Well, I think the way you framed that question was beautiful, and a simple answer for it is just cover your eyes and pick anybody on the defensive line. No one's really talking about this defensive line and what they bring to the table, their experience, their strength, their ability to stop the run, their ability to get to the quarterback. When you talk about Robert Livingston's defense in Cincinnati and what those safeties were able to do, a lot of that was happening because the pressure on the quarterback and him having to get the ball out of his hands because that rush was coming. And so I think that the sleeper cell for this defense, when you talk about who's not being talked about enough, is you can just close your eyes and pick anybody that's going to be playing on the defensive line. Whether you're the edge, nose, or tackle, doesn't matter, because these guys want to get to the quarterback. Coach Sapp has said the first 10 plays, within the first 10 plays of any game, they're getting a sack because they want to set the tone. I didn't say a QB hurry, a QB hit. They want to get a sack within the first 10 plays of the game to set that tone. These guys are training and preparing for that, up-tempo, upbeat, willing to run through a brick wall for these new coaches that they have at DC and on the line. So I think, Chico, whether it's a Shane Cokes, Chidoze, you pick it. I don't care who it is. People are sleeping on the defensive line and their ability to stop the run and get to the quarterback.
You spoke about before in the previous one. We was talking about defense playing fast, and the reason why they can play fast is because of the smarts and knowing where you're going. That comes from also the simplifying the defensive terms, and that way the communication can be fluent now. So if you guys watch out there the pregame show, you will have seen Uncle Neely when he talked to Robert Livingston. He said that he talked to the players specifically and said, "Hey, we call this in the NFL, but what would you be comfortable with calling it here? What will it translate to you that will be as fast where you'll know it like the back of your hand?" And it kind of resonated with me because I've done that when I was coaching the little league guys.
Yeah.
I said, instead of calling it something like in college, I'm going to give it one name instead of X right Z25 Flair, whatever. Let's just call it Rambo,
Yeah.
and everybody know what to do on Rambo, or let's just call it one word name, or whatever you guys pick it. Make it comfortable for them so that they can play faster and communicate more efficiently. Also,
Yeah, and I think that what happens often, and it gets lost in the translation when you say coach people up. You want to coach people up and get them better than where you found them. But coaching
right?
up doesn't mean they have to do everything your way, your terminology. What you want is the execution. And what I've heard Robert Livingston say to his group is, hey, man, there's 16 of y'all in here. I would rather me, the one person, learn your word than me try to teach 16 people my word. So this is the scheme. These are the responsibilities. What do y'all want to name it? Because I know, I'm a new DC. You had a DC last year. Before that, you were playing for somebody else. Let's identify the personnel group, who we're going to have on the field, what their responsibilities are, and y'all name it. Y'all tell me what we're going to call it, and that's what it's going to be. And I think that breeds buy-in. It brings execution because people have been part of the process versus a coaching down standpoint where it's like, no, my way to highway, name it this, do it like this. And I don't care if you get it or not, we're moving on to the next thing.
Yeah.
One of the things that's also special about this defense is Robert Livingston is laying a great foundation. He makes sure you have it before we move on to something else. So it's a foundation process, and they're laying that foundation day by day, week by week. So by the time you get to week one of the season, is humming like a fine-tuned engine.